this point in his career you do.
We will get to Carson Wentz in a second, but first, a nice shot of me fixing my hair.
Because Brady clearly, in that soundbite we heard it, he wants to be back.
Any video of what we're about to show, then let's show it to you. Texans and Bills and Buffalo getting tricky here.
Well, Bill Belichick, I haven't seen the contract. I guarantee in his contract it says
Allen for the touchdown. Perhaps Buffalo's play today because a little bit was down
once. Well, I mean, listen, Buffalo got off to an amazing start. Josh Allen, this was a very tough conversation with Robert Kraft. The perfect opening for them. And then obviously after 60-0 start, it went terrible. I couldn't believe he was able to just pop up from this hit. This is a brutal Belichick.
He had to get in there.
You know what? I thought it was brutal initially, but then when they showed it again, he kind of dove, and his legs really never got clipped the way they were.
All right, more from this one. And how about Deshaun Watson? Just refuses to go down, spins out of trouble, hits the open receiver, and that's set up the winning field goal.
That's the play of the weekend. It's better than any of the Taysom Hill plays, better than the great defensive plays we saw. Derrick Henry was sensational. But this play right here, if that is a sack, the Bills are going to get the ball back with a chance to win. This play right there, it's honestly one of the biggest plays in the young history of the Texans franchise.
Yeah, I agree. And he was actually fortunate that he had two defenders there because he bounced off the second defender and was able to stay up on his feet and then make this spectacular.
After a slow first half, so great play for Deshaun Watson. Saints and Vikings, you mentioned Taysom Hill. Nick taking a direct snap, proceeds to bounce off defenders. Big game for Taysom Hill.
Unfortunately for the Saints, right after this, Drew Brees had a brutal fumble. They were able to temporarily recover from it, but Taysom Hill was sensational in this football game. Throwing, catching, and running, Greg.
Yeah, this highlight right here says it all. A guy who wanted to win by any means necessary. I love the way he approached the game, his running, his throwing, his catching. He was everything for the New Orleans Saints yesterday.
I forget where I read it. They called him the Swiss Army knife. Taysom Hill. It's true. All right, moving on to the NFC wildcard game now. Eagles and Seahawks. And just as we've been applauding Carson Wentz for staying healthy all season, this happens. Jadeveon Clowney with the hit on Wentz from behind. You'll see him hit the back of his helmet as he hits the ground. Wentz forced to leave the game with a head injury. He would not return. And with no Nick Foles to call up, the next man up, 40-year-old Josh McCown, who couldn't quite get it done, turning it over on downs with the sack, with Philly down 1 score. Russell Wilson would later find DK Metcalf on 3rd and 10. It was a big one, 36 yards, but essentially sealed the game. Seahawks win 17-9 to advance. The Eagles' injury-riddled season is over now. Here is Doug Peterson on his state of his quarterback.
Maya, what are you doing?
I'm disappointed, for him, because I wanted this for him, obviously, and I think a lot of his teammates did too, and the team, the organization did. I mean, he's battled through a lot, but
I wouldn't touch that if I were you.
We'll learn from it. We'll move on.
We're in trouble.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I would say yes. If he's healthy, with the game plan that we had, I think so. But, it's hard to speculate.
It is really too bad for Carson Wentz. He finally got to play in that the much-anticipated playoff game we've all been waiting for, and then this happens. Nick, do you think that the Eagles would have won if Wentz doesn't get hurt?
I don't think they would have won if he doesn't get hurt. This is the type of game Seattle loves to play. This is the type of game Seattle's great at playing. Ugly, close games where Russell Wilson makes a few plays at the end. And Josh McCown came in, and while he wasn't able to punch it into the end zone a few times late in the game, Josh McCown played fine. Josh McCown completed 75% of his passes, a 95 passer rating, wasn't turning the ball over. Like, Josh McCown is not the reason the Philadelphia Eagles lost this football game. With that said, there's a couple parts of this play that I want to address. One is the laughable idea that, oh, look, another example of Carson Wentz's inability to stay healthy. This is so different than any other type of injury. I can't prove this. I'm guessing Carson Wentz desperately wanted to go back in this football game. But the NFL rightfully has changed the rules over the last decade to protect players from themselves, and he clearly was diagnosed with a concussion. You see exactly how he got it, and you're not allowed to play anymore. It's the rest of that game. It's unfortunate for Eagles fans. It's very fortunate for Carson Wentz's long-term health and viability. but this has nothing to do with the narrative of Wentz being injury prone. No one can train their brain to not sustain a concussion. Now on the hit that made it happen, I think that's a play that should have been flagged. I do not believe that's a dirty play by Jadeveon Clowney. I think Jadeveon Clowney's going after the quarterback who's running the football. He's trying to get him down on the ground. I don't think Clowney's a dirty player. I don't think that's a dirty play. There's a difference in my mind, Greg, between the illegal play and a dirty play. I don't think he was targeting Wentz's helmet. I think he's going down to deliver punishment to him, which is what defensive players do to quarterbacks, and he happened to hit him in the head. I think you might just as well have hit him in the back. Obviously, for all parties, it'd have been better if he hit him in the back, and Wentz would have been able to keep playing. But this was, I think, a missed penalty, and the NFL's trying to take the head out of football, and that should have been a flag. I do not think it was a dirty play, and I don't think, Greg, it's the reason why they lose.
Well, for me, I agree with you. I think if Carson Wentz is healthy and he's on the field, you mentioned that Seattle likes to win games this way, and this is how they've won over the course of the season. Well, so have the Eagles. With Carson Wentz at the helm, for whatever reason, if they have an opportunity to win the game and they're close in close proximity, he does some special Carson Wentz mania type magic at the end of the game, and they're able to move on, as we saw the last 4 games of the season. To the hit, the hit was not. I thought it was brutal initially, but then when they showed it again, he kind of been penalized. His legs really never got clipped the way they are. And I've been concussed. When your head hits from the front, like, forget the back. A lot of times you see receivers or skilled players or even quarterbacks get hit and their head pounds the back and it throttles. But when you get hit frontal and your head pounds in the front and someone's on top of you, it's so hard to bounce back from that. And when you go to the sideline, you can try to say all the right things. You mentioned it. He definitely probably wanted to play, but you just look fortunate that he had 2 defenders there because he
blinking his eyes, trying to kind of compose himself. He did play 5 snaps after that, but he was clearly not the same.
Listen, he got a concussion, and they have to remove him from the game. And I hate it for Eagles fans. It's not the quarterback, but a few years ago, the best player on the team I root for, Jamal Charles, unfortunately for the game against the Colts, he went down just like you're talking about. His head bounced off the turf, they were able to forehead first, and he desperately wanted to go back in the game, but they did concussion protocol. He had a concussion. You got to take the player out of the game. These are the rules. It's the right way to play the game. And I feel sick for Philly fans because it is a what if. I think Seattle wins anyway. I think Seattle's the better team. I think Seattle was the better team all year, and Seattle was the healthier team all year even prior to this. But you never know it, and you feel awful for Carson because he did check so many of those boxes. They had 4 consecutive must-win games. They won them all. He was excellent in that final quarter of the season, and this was the first chance for him to play in the playoffs, and he hasn't taken away from him. I just know a lot of people are going to be attacked. There's some doofuses that are going to be questioning Carson Wentz's toughness because of this. That's utter nonsense to us. But there are, I think, some right-minded people that are going to be attacking Jadeveon Clowney today for a dirty play. I just don't think that's a dirty play. I think it's an unfortunate play and an illegal play, but I don't think there was intent to injure. I don't even think there was intent to go for Carson's head.
And unfortunately for Carson, it happened on the 4th snap of the game for him, so he missed essentially the whole game after that. On the other side of the ball, the Seahawks won. I don't know if they won the way you wanted them to win. How dangerous are they now moving forward? I know it wasn't your game.
I mean, if Brian Schottenheimer gets kidnapped, they're very dangerous. I mean, this is the story of Seattle. Thank you, Jenna.
A lot of his teammates did too.
They just
the team, the
love
organization did. I mean, he's
ineffective runs and forcing Russell Wilson to be brilliant instead of just allowing Russell Wilson to be brilliant. We said going into the game, last year's playoff game against Dallas, that they could have won was a story of they ran the ball with their running backs in that game 22 times, 21 times, pardon me. If you remove one time Rashad Penny busted loose, it was 20 rushes for 31 yards.
It is really too bad
They doubled down on that and were worse than that this week. They rushed the ball with their running backs. I mean, you can look at the numbers. It's jarring. 17 times for 19 yards. Travis Homer had 11 carries for 12 yards, including a 12-yard run, which means the other 10 went for 0. Russell Wilson was close brilliant every time he touched the ball. The running game was wholly ineffective every time they went to it. Punch it into the end zone. So how dangerous are they? I think they could go to Green Bay and upset the Packers if they make it a Russell Wilson rating. If they try to make it a Marshawn Lynch, Travis Homer game, then they are going to lose because they do not have the blocking or the running backs capable of winning that type of football game.
You are
this play that I want to address.
Watching Seattle play is so frustrating because it's almost like
inability to stay healthy. This is so
LeBron and the
different
Lakers
than
play,
any other
and
type of
LeBron
injury.
and AD being eliminated from the offense, and they're clearly the best players on the court. Like Russell Wilson is the reason you are here. He's the reason you will remain here, and he's the reason why you will progress.
You see exactly how he got it, and you're not allowed to play
plays the way he played. And Russell Wilson has two guys
Eagles fans
to throw
it's
to,
very fortunate
outside of
Carson Wentz,
just running the ball and him
health and
eluding tackles and making marvelous plays with his legs.
The narrative of Wentz
this is a scary team, and they could upset the Packers.
Especially with Clowney playing the way he plays. It's excellent again. Now the hit notwithstanding.
And defensively, you just know they're not going to give up a bunch of points. And they're not afraid to go on the road and win dirty, grinded out games. We just saw him do it. We've seen him do it all year. We've seen him go up to San Francisco and make it a grindy, dirty game. And they came up big in that game. I like the Seattle Seahawks. What you said, if Russell Wilson can just be special, just allow him to be who he is.
And he happened to hit him in the head. It is not 1968, Brian Schottenheimer. I know you learned from your dad, Marty Schottenheimer, that lost playoff games like this in Kansas City. But you got to stop calling games like this.
All right, don't forget before Seahawks Packers kickoff next Sunday on Fox. Download the Fox Sports Super 6 app. Play Super 6 NFL playoffs for a chance to win Terry Bradshaw's $25,000.
Well, for me, I agree with you.
All right, take a break.
I think
Did you
Carson
win?
Wentz is healthy,
I was out. I didn't know if you did or not.
I didn't win. You mentioned that Seattle likes to win games this way, and this is how they've won over the course of the season.
Seems to be the question around New England. That's next on First Things First.
True.